Good afternoon, dear colleagues. My name is Slava Pankratev and I'm from Manager School Tetics. We continue our marathon. We have planned 5 meetings to remind you and to remind ourselves the tasks, because thus we can easily forget something very crucial, something essential. And this is why we invited you to be with us during these meetings. We'll discuss the tasks for every team leads or team managers. Last week you had a meeting with Alexander Orlov, my colleague, and today we have a meeting dedicated to task setting and control. I will remind you that there are several types of control, there are several levels of delegation. We'll remember that delegation and setting up tasks, they are two different things, but they are interrelated. And I will provide you with several life hacks how to work better, how to enrich your tools as a manager or as a team leader you possess. So very briefly, I would introduce myself. My name is Slava Pankratev. I'm the business coach and managing partner. I have two higher educations, technical and practical psychology. And for any meeting that we have, this topic is very close to me, very relevant to me. And this story of control setting and task setting, there is somehow, so to say, a tale of mistakes that other people made to us, probably. And as an example, I can tell you a story of mine. It's not about. It's very common for people. So just imagine a man. So you are coming home from work and your wife is meeting you and she said that the tap is dripping. So what you have to do? Yes, you are a man and probably you have to solve this problem. You go to the bathroom, you open the kind of a wardrobe, you can see several tools, but you are not an expert with that because probably you are not experienced. So you have to take these tools, your favorite tools, you take them and you try to fix it, how to use them properly to solve the problem and to deal with that. So, and your wife is asking you, so are you ready? Is it ready? No, I'm just started. It's not my daily routine. This is my first time probably. Okay. So, then you listen into the sounds from the kitchen and you have checked it, but you can see the tap is constantly dripping. And okay, so please wait for some more time. Stay here. I need more time. So this is quite stressful. This is disturbing. Well, she's running here to me. So once again, she comes to the bathroom. And then your daughter, for example, came and she told you that you are not very quick with that. And so thus you have the desire to try to teach your a parent or your relative not to behave this way. Probably this is very disturbing. This control is very disturbing. And please be very attentive. This is highly likely that your wife has some problems or some reasons. Probably she is waiting for you to divide the lunch or a supper with you, and probably in this particular control there is a story, there is a background story, and for you probably you think this is a kind of a micromanagement as well. So in this particular story, let's try to find out that you put some task for other person and you try to solve it. So this is to begin our conversation of today. The story is very continuous. We have several topics, and today this is the fourth topic. We are talking about setting and control all the tasks. And what are we going to talk about today? We'll discuss the micromanagement, when probably you have to run to some people where someone else disturbs you. This is all about the story about the control. We will discuss about how to be more successful, how more adaptive to other people. We will highlight the timing, in what particular time the change of control must take place. And something has happened, and we have to understand what to do and what kind of the frequency control needs. We'll also discuss the type of the employee regarding the tasks. This is the next level of maturity of this technique. We'll talk about the tools, how to set the tasks, smart tools. We asked you previously to remember about them, and today actually our webinar is not particular about this matter and how they correlate the delegating and the control setting, how are they interrelated. And we will remind you what kind of levels exist. So, to begin with, we'll talk about micromanagement when someone has put some tasks for you. This is very disturbing for people, and you have some unplanned control. So, what's the problem? You are a manager, and this is your task. You have such a right to control the situation, to control the problem-solving process, and for some reason, this is very disturbing and impeding. So, from the side, from the part of this employee, this is probably is not a systematic thing. So, it's not a normal situation. And what are the reasons? You have to understand how the task was set, and you ask for the reasons of that irritation. And if you have explained that the task is very important and you have to know the conditions, the status, it's not about the timing, but I cannot just learn about these conditions in 2 days. I need to be involved in the process and to understand probably how it is going on. So this is not about the putting the question, are you ready or not? You agreed how this control will be held. And this is not the problem about the frequency. The micromanagement is when the control is unexpected, or it was unexpectedly often. A very sad story if a man knew that that particular man would fix the tap. So probably he wouldn't have had any problems at all. Or if the wife has explained to him, I'm waiting for you, I would like to have dinner with you, so that the man would understand why she was constantly asking about the situation. She was worried because she was hungry. So this all happens when we think that you are being controlled much more often than you agreed. Or probably you have expected that you'll be controlled only at the end of the task, and the manager comes much more often to you. And the problem is that at the very beginning stage of the task setting, there was not agreement about the control, about the frequency of control. So please be attentive here. It's very irritating that micromanagement, it can be explained very simply. There are different types of control, different types of tasks, and we choose them on our own, but they must be agreed by every part. When you talk about the tasks, when you discuss the terms, so what kind of types of control exist? We would like to remind you, or understand that you are quite successful in your task setting. But I would like to remind you that there is No, only one or two types of control. There are 5 of them, and we'll discuss that. And we can imply them, so several types at the same time. And they're also very good tool. So the first one is the final control. When you ask a person to do something, like I asked my colleague to prepare a presentation for our customers or clients, he comes to us and this we are preparing to the meeting that we'll have. You can set the result only at the end when the presentation is being demonstrated to everyone in the meeting. Thus you can learn that the task was fulfilled and you can see the result. This is the final type of control. It's applied very often and it's not bad, of course, but probably it's not the very pleasant story. But sometimes it can be applicable. It can be applicable when you have the complete confidence and success. The tasks, all the tasks will be fulfilled. And when you put such tasks several times before and the team or every particular employees, they had success, were successful in tasks performing, and everyone understands in the same way how that should be done. So the person, what's more, has repeatedly successfully performed similar tasks. Or when those tasks are pretty short, you can divide it for several pieces and each particular piece is a task. And you can understand that it can be changed or fixed very quickly, so it's not a difficult task. It's not about taking a big task and perform it. When we have short several tasks, it's easier for us to perform it instead of discussing. So discuss for 2 hours, it's no use, there is no sense in that. And to rent to different people to control that, thus it will end that you have to pause the work and to spend and waste time on something excessively. So, and finally, it's very good to situation when employee had repeatedly successfully performed the tasks. If we understand that the task is much more complicated, where if you cannot be confident in the result or you have not trust in the employees, you would like to foresee the results and to be confident in that. Another type of control is a preliminary one. It is applicable again when you have confidence in the employees and the teams before it had some success and they know how to solve the problems, but you would like to be sure. And the problem is, or the question is, what time is that? So when we have to put the point before the fulfillment. So probably thus you should have enough time to fix something if something goes wrong. But again, you have confidence in people, but you would like to make it sure. Probably they have missed something or they have forgotten something, but it will take them some time to fix it, and you are sure of that. Thus, you should make a point. Once again, the second type of control is preliminary. And for example, on Thursday you have a meeting, and thus you have to be able to fix it again.
Okay, type 3 has to do with stages. We control each stage of the task. We use it for tasks that are either incomprehensible in terms of objectives and results. We don't know the precise outcome of each stage of the task. Or if you don't know how long each stage will take. The same goes for a presentation, for example. You ask your colleague to prepare a presentation. You ask them to draw up a structure, what it begins with, what it ends with, what areas we're going to cover, and show it to me to make sure that we don't miss out on anything. And you only need the structure, but you don't know how long it will take, an hour, 2 hours, maybe a day. You take a look at the structure and you say, yeah, it looks like it. And now please add some data in it. You add some report, a table, and show me the results. Show me what you get. I need to know if it covers everything that we need, if it's exhaustive. And again, you don't know how long it will take to add the data. And then we add the design. I will help you with the design, or you will finalize the design yourself. In this case, you don't know how long each stage will take, maybe 3 hours, 3 hours more, and then 6 hours, maybe 2 days, maybe 2 more days, and 6 days. In this case, it makes sense to use stage planning. Another option is when your next stage depends on the previous one, on its completion. For instance, an employee does some research, gathers data, for instance, for a presentation or for a demonstration, and depending on the results they get, we either have something to show or we don't have anything to show. And then we probably need to do more research. And then we figure out if our small prototype is functional, or if there is no sense in trying to make it commercial, to try to make a product out of it. This is when you have a task with many stages, and these stages can take an indefinite amount of time. We need to understand how long each stage takes and to make sure we're moving ahead in the right pace. The fourth type of control is so-called periodic control. For instance, our project is changing all the time. It's the normal for this particular project, and you need to keep track of every little detail to make sure that all changes are entered in the right pace at the right time, that every iteration is released when it needs to be. So daily meetings, daily stand-up meetings is the right type of control for this type of projects. When you are pressed for time, when there is a rigid deadline, and if the team forgets something, you won't have time to fix it, and you will have to submit your work incomplete. In this case, it is very good to use periodic control, using daily stand-ups or using daily meetings and weekly meetings, for example, to make sure we remember to enter all the changes before the deadline. When you don't know the pace, for instance, you have a forest to fell and you have 5 men to do it. If you move too slowly, you will need a bigger team. If you move very quickly, maybe you can split your team into 2 and fell another forest. So you don't know the speed of your team. You don't know how fast they can work. So we apply periodic control in order to measure their pace. And you get an average pace, for example, or you get an average number of requests they process, or another indicator, for example, how many mistakes in each build they get and how much time we need at the end of the project to fix all the errors and all the mistakes. So periodic control is very effective if you realize why you're applying it and what's the point. So, one more type of control is selective control. I'd like you to imagine a plant, and there is a conveyor feed that packs some kind of tin food. You would like to verify the quality of these tins, but you can't open every tin because you would have to repack it every time. So there is no technological possibility to check every tin. So you open up one tin in 100, for example. Alternatively, you could check every 100th request, every 100th build or anything. If I have checked one request or one tin in 100 and I see mistakes, it means that I need to verify quality with a higher frequency. If one tin in 100 is all right, I can verify fewer products, like one tin in 200s or one tin in 1,000 and so on. If you don't trust a contractor, for example, if you haven't worked with this particular contractor before, you need to verify more often. For example, you commission the translation of a book, but you can't read the entire translation to check its quality. So in the beginning, you say that you're going to apply selective control to read specific pages, like page 14, page 59, page 75, and I'm going to hire a proofreader to do it, or to have these fragments translated once again and then compare it to your translation. And this will enable me to understand whether your work is of high quality. So again, this type of control works for cases when it's impossible to check everything, or if you annihilate the result, like in the case with tinned food. You can't check every tin. This was selective control in brief. Right. Further on, now that you have selected a type of control and you have warned your task performer about the type of control you're applying, you sometimes have the need to change it, and you need to know how and when. And finally, how can you select the appropriate type of control for the person you've assigned the task to? Choosing and changing the type of control is rather simple if you have an algorithm in your head. Firstly, how do you choose the type of control? You're probably thinking that the most important factors are whether this person has had experience of such tasks before and how important the task is. If the task is very advanced in terms of engineering or technical side, if the performer haven't had any experience, you're most likely to have to control performance very frequently. But if you understand that your performer is experienced, even if the task is rather risky and very important, you can control them with a lower frequency. If you can see that your performer is experienced, the task is of average complexity, and the performer is also a very responsible person by nature, you can make do with just one or two control points. If the task is of low importance, even if the performer is not very experienced, you'll probably just have to control the fact of performance and to control that the performer doesn't take on too many tasks, just to control the fact of processing the task. So you use these three factors to select your type of control: the importance, the risk or the complexity of the task, and the performer, their personality and their experience. You need to understand what will happen if the task doesn't get completed on time. So how to reach an agreement? As a manager, you have an understanding of what kind of person your employee is and what kind of task you're dealing with. So you reach out to this employee. I would like to remind you yet another time that you need to mention the type of control that you're going to use at the stage of task setting, because the performer of your task might feel that you're micromanaging them and that you don't trust them. Again, make sure to agree on the type of control at the stage of task setting. You sometimes ask, how long will it take to complete the task? On Friday. Okay, so I'll be able to control the result on Thursday. Oh no, I'll only get to it on Friday in the morning because I'll be busy on Wednesday and on Thursday. So when agreeing on the type of control, you find out that the task will take half a day and will be completed on Friday. And then you can move on to discussing the priorities. Probably this task is highly important and it only takes one day, and probably you can ask this performer to complete it earlier and move other tasks further along. This way, you can prioritize tasks and make sure everything gets completed when it's really needed. So, secondly, of course, you consider the importance of the task and you consider the preliminary experience, the previous experience of your employee. It's very important to let the employee know how the procedure of control will take place. You refer to their previous experience, probably to your common experience of collaborating on particular tasks, and you point out the differences. Like this task is a lot more important and it matters a great deal to me, and I would like to feel more confident and more relaxed. I would like to have the possibility to enter certain changes, maybe in the process. So please don't get irritated if I come to you more often than usual. And at this stage, you figure out how your employee, your performer will go about doing the task. So probably you start with the design of the presentation, then you start adding data, then you start adding the structure, and so on. So, and you ask them, please let me know every time you complete each stage. And they say, yeah, okay. Thirdly, this is a very important point, which sometimes is missed by managers, especially if they are overloaded. You also need to secure the consent of your performer, because managers sometimes act unilaterally and select the control mode unilaterally. And sometimes it's okay. Like if you have a contractor that you only work once, that you have no previous experience with, you can control them any which way you like, as long as they agree to it. If they don't agree to it, you find someone else. But if you want to work with someone for a long time, if you want them to stay in your team, or if it's an external contractor, but if you have multiple jobs for them for the future, for example, it's great to come to an agreement with time. For example, when we have had some common experience, some previous collaborations, I will be able to control you with a lower frequency. And I won't have to control every single report, every single commercial proposal, every single spreadsheet. I will be able to control you less. But at present, at this stage of our cooperation, I need more control. And you need to secure consent from the other party. If they aren't okay with it, you need to find ways to work around it. So you either find someone else to do the task or you apply administrative pressure, so to say. So we've analyzed the task. We've come to an agreement with the performer regarding the mode of control, and sometimes we need to enter some changes. Like we've agreed on control by stages, but sometimes there are unexpected errors, unexpected downtime. For instance, we are working on a release. As a client, I don't control you every day, but I can see intermediary stages, and I can see that the number of errors is growing from one release to another. And at the end of the day, we're going to have testing, and we're going to spend a great deal of time fixing all the bugs. So before this day comes, I reach out to the task performer and I probably review the selected type of control. For instance, if we get more bugs than anticipated, if we don't get the intermediate results we agreed on, for instance, you agreed on control by stages, you agreed on the sequence structure, data, design, but the performer doesn't reach out to you with some kind of intermediate result. They don't meet the intermediate deadlines, and you have to change the general plan. Or you realize that the task is more complex than anticipated, like the structure of the presentation is more complex. And you enter some changes and you alter the mode of control. So as soon as you have secured the new mode of control, you make sure to agree with your task performer on this mode of control.
Если у вас длительные отношения с этим человеком, например, это член вашей команды,
So this person has a plan for future development, and you can see this potentially. He could be not only an engineer but also a team lead. But the team leader is a person that can work as an engineer, more than an engineer, and how to check it, and how to switch it on, so to say. So how to control it if the person will be ready to do that. So we have a plan, and I can say, okay, and I will give you more space for future development, for further achievements. Do you remember that we agreed to do that? And if you understand that the person is quite successful with all the tasks, and for you as a manager the type is very convenient, just try to remember you probably have had some preliminary agreements before. It's comfortable for you, and once per day I get the results. Let's try to do that the same way, but only once in 3 days or once a week. Thus I am the head, the boss can save my time, and you as an engineer, you have the more vast area of responsibilities. So this is quite okay for me. I'll check it once a week. This is all very good, and we can move forward. In the framework of the terms, we can give a number of or a list of tasks, and we can divide them or give them to another person for control, and to make it sure whether this person can do estimations or to prioritize them, and if the tasks weren't fulfilled fully, this won't affect dramatically the whole project. So let's try to do this to give this person some more opportunities, and the bosses can make notice that the people are more capable to work on their own, because this is quite successful. This is a very good stage for the process of maturation of any leader, and at the very particular time he is starting to gain more confidence in the team and the people, because they are all pretty smart and they can do that on their own, and people understand that they get more tasks, and they understand that with this very boss we can work together. If something goes wrong, we can discuss it, I can make some questions, and I can work on my own, and This is a very programmed phase of maturation. So at the beginning you gain them more, you have some risks, but you give them more responsibilities and you understand that your team is quite mature and you can give them more tasks, and at particular time you understand that you can also go more quicker forward and to control them less. We also remind employee they can be of different time, they can be short, they can be long, but we also must take in mind the employees. And this is not applicable for every project. There are different projects and probably there is no possibility to find and to attract another people. We have some resources, some people to do this, and if you have the possibility to choose to whom can those tasks be given, this is contradict to different methodologies. We understand that we have a classical whiteboard, we have tasks, and people can pick up the most attractive one to them. And this is when you have quite mature and self-motivated team. If you have such employees, such team, your task is not to impede the process, but be useful for them, to assist them. And there are some process or a project that are repetitive, like the fourth conference, for example, when the team knows pretty well what should be done, and this is great. And if we are going about a new product or a new staff, or you would like to tune your work in the way that people won't only get the task they cannot done, we recommend you to remind and to analyze the types of the employees, the qualities and the traits. So once again, what I mean, this is not the management of the highest level, but this can be taught very quickly and very easily. This is a principle, a sign of experienced manager. Please be careful that the experience of the employee is for how much time the employee performed the task. It doesn't mean that the employee is experienced or unexperienced. There is different types, like people who are quick, who are not quick, who are very eager to work, or probably who have some difficulties in understanding the tasks. So once again, experience of the employee is not employee type, and the higher the experience in similar tasks the employee has, the lower the control of this task is. The type of the employee, once again, when we mention type of the employee, probably it should be rightful to take how this person is ready to undertake a new task, whether they are able to do and perform this task. Have they done it before or not? Some people are very good at repetitive tasks, and others they are very good in something new. It's not difficult, but if you will follow some people that work for several months, very cautious as a boss, as an employer, and you can probably track it that the person is very eager to work with new tasks, and they explain that I have done this, but I haven't done this one. So there is also another type of employees when they are not ready to work with new tasks. That doesn't mean that they're better or they're worse. That means that they're of other type. From the other part, probably they draw with the new tasks, or they try to do a kind of research, or probably they could approach someone for a piece of advice. And this is a very pretty story. You have to follow, you have to take a look at your employees, how they work, and probably at the end it's not desirable to give the tasks to such employees because you won't have the result. It will be kind of a torture for the employee instead. And some people think that this is a growth for me because they create a plan, they try something new, they give it a try, and at the end they will see it, whether they succeeded or they failed. And there is a kind of exaltation at the end if they are successful. And you should track it, you should take a look at that. If they take a new task, probably this is something inborn, and till this very when they have a problem, they approach you or they don't approach you, you should teach. And probably before this employee had the task and you are alone with your tasks. Do whatever you want, whatever you can, but you have to solve it. Or you can come to me and we will discuss it. I will try to explain it to you. This is a very typical story for us. And there are people that don't approach because they do not know that there is such opportunity, or probably that was not typical at the previous job because they had different culture, working culture. And if we mean, for example, the engineers that work on their own, and it also influences negatively their self-esteem, and they can tell finally, okay, this is my mistake, I admit that. But that doesn't matter. What matters is that there is no result, and we should make some changes in the process of work. And we should admit that. So let's again talk about the control. We have to have it more quicker, more often. And if you do not understand that, I will approach to you, I will try to make it clear. There is also another story, very fashionable one, about the behavior typologies. We are all very different and we approach tasks very differently. And in our program, we use that disk typology. This is very broad one. This typology is to public domain. This is not proprietary. You can learn it and you can apply it. There are several basic types. D, I, A, C. They are all connected to the colors, and we will talk about that during the modules about constructive confrontation, or my colleague Alexander Orlov can also explain that to you. The main idea is that people behave differently. The red type, they include very quickly in different tasks because they enjoy the process of work, the process of challenging. They're very glad to challenges. They're always ready to have new tasks, have new adventures. They are ready to start working on the project, and probably they do not understand fully what the task is. So probably the tasks, I don't like it, but I'm ready to struggle with it, and I would like to, yes, I would like to struggle it. It's a challenge for me. And the plan, I do not have it probably, but I'm ready to start working, and if I will fail, probably you will fail this task, and you can easily throw it and proceed with something else. If we mean the yellow type of the character, they're very open people, and if the team there are two persons, two people, they will spend lots of time for the discussion of whether it's promising or not, and how to solve it, what kind of perspectives will the company have. They can spend much time on the discussion, and finally, as the result, they will get nothing. They will discuss how it can be solved. This is very promising. There are perspectives, but and the end they will have nothing. So thus you have to control them. The green people, they this is S-type. From nature, they agreed very easily with different things. Even if the task is difficult, they understand that you have to spend much time on this particular task, but later on they can change their point of view. You work in the matrix structure, and I need that. For example, please pull yourself together, try to do that, try to perform it well. Okay, I will try to do my best. Or they spend more time till the late night, and they will be very stressful, wear out, and there is another employee who says, I need this too, and thus they can put aside your task and take another one. With this particular people, the control is not enough, and they working with these people who are very open-minded. They are very keen on work, and you have to be able to plan how to work. You also have to plan time to impede other people to take another tasks, because you have resources under you, and if you put the task, this is your main idea. If you work in the matrix structure, and thus we should understand that the task which is put is not the fulfilled tasks, so you have to prioritize that. And the blue one, people with analytical set of mind, people cannot start solving the problem because they do not understand what kind of the result, and then they might succeed or achieve. These people are very different. They are very perfect in the task solving, but it's very difficult for them to start. So the red color, they start without any plan. The blue one, they have to have a plan at the advance and the very beginning. I understand that I'm very quick now, and probably you have some doubts, you have some understanding what kind of advantages and disadvantages they have, but we dedicate some time on this story, and we think that this is not the highest level. This is the principle and side of a manager. We understand
So the next aspect I'm going to cover is familiar to many of you. Some of you even asked it in the questions about this webinar. So what other approaches to task setting do you know apart from SMART? SMART is very well known. There's also pure, clear. Many people also mentioned the get things done approach, which is not exactly a task setting methodology. It's more of a general performance methodology. It's not about task setting and control, just something that's very widely known. And we also recommend you to explore two things: the 5-paragraph order and Auftragstaktik, the so-called German methodology. Of course, you're probably familiar with SMART. This abbreviation maintains that the task needs to be specific, needs to be measurable, achievable in principle. So you understand what we want, you understand how we're going to control, you understand how to achieve it. And this task is also realistic or relevant. Another interpretation, this is something that deals with the project, not something that's out of scope. And finally, it's time-bound. So a well-set task meets the 5 criteria. That said, SMART is not the only approach you can use to control tasks. If we speak about tasks of a higher level, which are more objectives rather than tasks, For
находитесь в
instance, if
компании,
you're
которая
in
работает
a
скорее
company
по
that
KPI, скорее
works
по
with
OKR, то это
CR and
вот
not
вот история более
KPIs,
близко для вас
this
будет.
is more something that
Pure
you'll
и
find
clear
relevant.
это тоже две
Pure and clear
аббревиатуры. Я
are
вам
also
предлагаю самостоятельно в
abbreviations.
эту
You
историю
can
вернуть, если
study
хотите.
them
Это тоже
independently.
два таких подхода, как бы
These
таких два
are also
чек-листа, какими
checklists
должны
that
быть,
you
но
can
уже обратите
use
внимание, не столько
to
задачи, хотя к задачам
verify
они тоже
your
применимы,
goals rather
но
than
к
tasks.
целям, потому что цели, в
Because
отличие от
goals,
задач,
unlike tasks, need to
должны в
meet
большей степени удовлетворить
a
еще
number of
некоторым
other
критериям, таким
criteria.
как
Like
этичным,
they have to be
таким как
ethical,
содержащим вызов, то есть человеку должно
they
хотеться
have to be
достигать этой цели.
challenging, so your
Иногда
employees
Pure
need
и
to
Clear
want to
применяют и в
achieve these
постановке
goals.
задач. Если вы хотите
You
обновить,
can
сделать
also use
некий
these
рефреш
two
вашему
methodologies in
менеджерскому
task
багажу
setting.
знаний, посмотрите не
This
просто
is
на Smart,
something to
посмотрите на
expand
Pure и
your
Clear.
managerial
Две такие очень
expertise.
интересные дополняющие штуки,
Try
особенно когда вы
applying pure
будете
and clear
два таких подхода,
as
которые дополняют
complementary
Smart, особенно
approaches to
когда вы
SMART,
захотите ставить человеку не
especially
конкретные
if
задачи,
you're
а вот те
dealing
самые
with
логические
logical
наборы
sets
задач.
of
Нам
tasks,
это
not
нужно
just
для того,
standalone
чтобы
tasks.
после этого
Like you
вы
need
либо
to
по
do
смарту,
this,
либо
and
прошу
that
прощения, по
to
Pure, либо
achieve
по
the
Clear можете
following.
сами
You can
себя
use pure and
допроверить.
clear to
Что
verify
такое
your
постановка задач в 5
capabilities.
параграфах и что,
So,
собственно говоря, за параграфы
next up,
и
five
где
paragraph
почитать
order,
подробнее
and
про
where you
Abstract
can read
Tactics.
more
Если мы не
about
будем прямо сейчас
abstract
подробно в
tactic.
них нырять, это тема
These
хорошего отдельного
two
семинара, каждая
approaches
из этих
both deserve a
таких
standalone
фреймворков,
webinar,
что ли,
so we
постановки
aren't going
задачи.
to delve
5
into
параграфов
them in
и
a lot of
Abstract Tactic–
detail.
это
So
подходы
abstract
к
tactic
такому
is
армейской
army
постановке
style
задачи.
task setting.
Обратите внимание, если вы работаете в
If you
достаточно
work in
так,
a
хорошо
highly
регламентированных
regulated
структурах, где у вас
organization
все-таки есть
where you
возможность
can
выбирать подход
select the
постановки
task
задачи,
setting
что
methodology,
приказ в 5 параграфах,
both
который
five
описывает
paragraph
ситуацию,
orders that
наши задачи,
describes the
как мы ее будем
situation and
реализовывать,
how we are
как
going to
происходит
realize it and
администрирование
what
логистика внутри
logistics
этой
we
задачи,
are
кто
going
кому
to use and what
подчиняется и какие мы,
hierarchy
какой системой
is
сигналов
in
мы
place.
обмениваемся для того, чтобы все двигалось. Это первый подход. На
This
самом
is
деле есть
what you
просто
can
конкретные
do
примеры, когда
to set the
даже
task
целые
using five
проекты могут
paragraph
хорошо
order. It works
непродолжительные
fine
проекты
even with
хорошо
short
задаются
projects.
в
So it's a
методологии 5
universal
параграфов.
methodology.
Abstract Tactic– это
Abstract
еще
tactic
одна
is also a
армейский, еще один
military
такой
style
армейский подход
approach
к
to task
постановке
setting.
задач. Применялся он, судя по названию чаще, пришел к нам точнее из
It is
немецких
a German
военных
it
сил.
is
И
a German approach.
крайне очень такая
It
интересная
was
штуковина,
derived
если
from the
вы
practices applied
задумываетесь,
in
что
the
есть
German
помимо
army.
смарта, что есть
And this
помимо
is
там
also
пьюра,
for your
клира, если вы
consideration
выбрались уже
if
на
you're wondering what
постановку
else is
задач,
out
например,
there outside
командной
smart, pure,
небольшой.
and clear.
Например, вы руководитель
This
команды, у вас
works
есть вот
well
там
with
тим-лид или
small
8-2-3
tasks,
человека.
with small
Вот с
teams,
этими
like you
людьми
have a
уже,
team
наверное,
lead
имеет смысл не
and they
каждую
have
задачу
several employees.
раскладывать по
So
смарту, а
instead of
ставить им задачу на
breaking down
уровне
each
вот для чего
task with
нам
the
это
use of the
нужно.
SMART
После этого
methodology,
уже
you can
тим-лид
reach
либо
out to the
тех-лид
team
со
lead
своей командой
using
разберет
abstract
задачи на
tactic.
более мелкие,
And the
а вы
team
можете ему
lead will break
подсказывать, как,
down the
собственно говоря,
bigger
проверять
task
ваши
into
задачи,
smaller
например,
tasks
по
for each
тому же
particular
смарту.
employee.
Вот
And then
что
you can
такое
use SMART to
приказ в 5
verify the
параграфах, и вот
results.
что такое Abstract Tactic. Если интересует, пожалуйста, приходите,
So
смотрите.
this is what you can
Остался
use, and this
важный
is where you can
вопрос.
find
То
more
есть я
information
постараюсь
about
там за
abstract
следующие минут
tactic.
5-10 с ним справиться.
So I'm going to deal with
Много
your questions
путаницы
just in a couple of
вокруг
minutes.
термина
There's a lot of
делегирования.
confusion
Я
around the
делегировал
term
ему вот эту
delegation
задачу.
or
Чаще всего
delegating
означает, что
tasks.
менеджер просто
In
поставил
most
задачу с
cases,
каким-то
people
типом
use it
контроля.
for
А в чем же
assignment
тогда
of
разница
tasks.
между делегированием
So
и
what
постановкой
is the
контрольных задач?
difference
Давайте, что
between
называется, говорить
delegating tasks
правильно.
and
Секундочку,
setting
я забегу в
tasks?
чат,
Just
все
a
в иностранном
second, I'll
порядке.
check the chat.
Да, спасибо
So
большое. Это
thanks a
наши
lot.
коллеги
My
дублируют
colleagues
туда
have
ссылочки,
added
которые
the
я привожу на
links
сайте.
to the
Очень
chat, and you
много
can benefit from
неразберихи
reading
исключительно вот
what's there.
терминологической. Я ему делегирую задачу, я ему
So I
делегирую
delegate
полномочия, я ему...
responsibilities, I
Вот
delegate
слово
tasks.
делегирование
People say
применяется
it
в
a lot
очень-очень разных
in very
контекстах.
different
С точки
contexts.
зрения постановки и контроля задач все
When
становится
you
немножко
return to
проще.
task setting, it
Делегирование как
becomes a
таковое–
little
это постановка
clearer.
задач плюс
So,
выдача
delegation
полномочий,
includes setting
если для того, чтобы
tasks
эти
and
задачи
giving
реализовывать, у человека
authority to the
полномочий не было.
person who's responsible
Если
for
у
the
человека
task if
были
they didn't have
полномочия
it.
на то, чтобы
If this
задачу
person
выполнять,
already
вы ему
had the
ничего не
authority
делегировали,
to
вы ему
perform this
один раз
task, it had
делегировали
nothing to do with
область,
delegation.
дали
You
необходимые
assigned them
полномочия, после этого вы в этой
responsibilities and then
области
you
человеку уже
assign
просто
specific
ставите
tasks and
задачи и
control their
контролируете
performance. This
задачи.
isn't delegation.
У делегирования есть своя
Delegation
градация,
also
если есть 5
comes
типов
with
контроля, то есть там предлагается, по крайней мере,
degrees. There
вы
are like
сами себе
7
делегируете.
types
Сейчас я вам
of
подскажу
degrees or types of delegation, and I'm going to explain them a little
Постановка и
later.
контроль задач есть
Setting up and
частью
controlling
процесса
tasks is a
делегирования,
part of the
включается одно в
delegation
другое.
process. And
Делегирование — это
delegation is
передача
the transfer of
полномочий для
authority to
того, чтобы
perform a
человек мог
task,
решать те
and the
задачи,
person
которые вы
did
ему
not have
ставите.
this
Я
authority
тебе ставлю
before.
задачу, а у тебя
Like
условно
I'm
говоря нет
setting a
прав.
task, but you
Когда
don't
вот тебе
have the
права,
rights,
и
the
вы сообщаете,
access
что
to
если
do
вы
it,
человеку
and then
передаете какой-то
you
кусок работы,
open
где
them
он взаимодействует с
access.
соседними подразделениями. Тогда
Like
вы должны
if you want
проинформировать соседние
this
подразделения, что у
person
этого
to
человека вы ему
interact with other
передали
divisions
эти
or
задачи
teams, you need to
вместе с правом,
notify other
например, на
teams
принятие
that
решений,
this
вместе с
person is
правом на
going to be
расходование
your
бюджета, вместе с
representative
правом
in the performance of
самостоятельно
this
прийти
task,
и с вами
like if
договориться.
it
Вы
deals with
говорите,
budget
какие
or
права
something
вы
else.
выдали помимо
You
задач
specify
этому
which
конкретному человеку.
rights
Значит, когда мы говорим
this
про выдачу прав,
employee is
обычно
getting
речь идет про
along with the tasks,
информирование
and you
другой стороны
notify
о том,
other
что может делать
stakeholders
человек,
about
которому вы теперь
the new
передали
rights this
эти
person
самые задачи.
has.
Иногда
Sometimes
делегирование
high-level
высокого
delegation
уровня может
doesn't
даже не
even
включать.
include control.
Ну, например,
For instance,
представьте,
the board of
совет директоров
directors
передает в управление новому назначенному SEO,
vests the new
CEO
CEO
передает, например,
with power to
в
govern the
управление компанией.
company.
Идет какая-то плановая передача.
So
Вот мы
this
тебе
is an
сначала передали
administrative
производство, теперь
procedure.
мы тебе
The
передаем
CEO is now in
закупки,
control
потом мы
of
тебе передаем финансы, и
manufacturing,
ты
of
на второй-третий год начнешь
supply,
отвечать перед
of
советом директоров
purchases,
полностью
and
за
so on.
всю
And
работу компании.
starting from
При
next
этом
year, you
мы
will
тебе
be
это
in charge of
передаем,
the
нас
entire
интересует только в
company.
конце года, чтобы ты сказал, да,
And at the
производство
end of the
работает.
year, the
Мы будем
CEO
тебя
is
там внутри
supposed
постоянно
to
контролировать, у нас
report
нет на это, например,
on
времени, либо мы
manufacturing and
бы
say that,
со
yeah,
сотрудник более
everything is
высокоуровневый, какой смысл
functioning
тебя
all right.
контролировать.
So
Еще
there
раз,
will be no
постановка задачи включается
intermediate
в процесс
control over their
делегирования. Причем
actions,
постановка
just the
задачи есть 5
report.
типов. Напоминаю, 5
Again,
типов
I'd like to
контроля.
remind you that there are
Когда
5
мы
types
говорим
of
про
control, so there
делегирование,
will be no control in
существуют
the
свои
process.
уровни делегирования. Обратите
Let's move
внимание,
on
они
to
уже
delegation
относятся не к
levels.
тому,
Please pay
как
attention to the
задача
fact that
будет делаться
delegation levels have
конкретно.
nothing to
Здесь
do
уже
with
чаще говорят о
how the
проблеме
task
как
will be
таковой, а не
performed,
о задаче. Потому что если вы ставите
because
задачу, то это будет как
delegation
делегирование.
deals more with
Поставили
the
задачу,
issues
приступите
to
к контролю,
resolve
где работаем.
rather
Задача
than
полностью
tasks
как
to
бы вот
perform, because
ты ее выполняешь, она
tasks
относится к моей
come
зоне
with
ответственности.
procedures
С
and
делегированием немножко
tasks are
по-другому.
mainly
Мы говорим о
within
том,
the
что существуют разные
responsibilities
типы
of this
делегирования,
particular
причем первый
employee
очень
or team
сильно
member.
напоминает прямое
So
директивное постройку
delegation
контролирования.
levels. Level
Делай
1.
так, как я
Do
тебе
as you
говорю.
were told to
Я
do.
тебе говорю, что
So I
делать,
tell you
я
what
тебе
to
говорю,
do,
как делать,
I
я
tell
тебе
you
говорю, я
how to
тебе
do
говорю
it,
контролировать.
and I tell
Это
you
так
how I'm
называемый
going
первый
to
уровень
control you.
делегирования, где человек, ну не то
So
чтобы прям
it
лишен
doesn't mean
каких-то
that
свобод, но
this particular
пока он
team
находится
member
на том уровне,
doesn't have
когда ему
any
говорят, что
freedom,
делать, и
but they're at the
говорят,
level of
как его будут проверять и
executing
контролировать. Второй уровень
what you
делегирования —
tell them to
это
do.
исследуй проблему.
Level 2
Нам нужно
is
сделать вот
a
что.
request to
Сейчас это не
explore the
работает.
problem
Исследуй проблему,
and to come up
предложи
with
мне варианты,
suggestions on
я
how
решу,
to
как
solve
ее
it.
дальше
And
делать.
then I will
То
tell
есть ты
you
исследуешь, ты говоришь, можно сделать
which
так, вот так и вот
option
так, и я
you
тебе
should
говорю, как
choose,
мы это дело
and
будем
you will
решать, ты идешь делать
continue
дальше.
with the resolution.
Третий уровень.
Level 3.
Давай исследовать.
Let's
Ты,
explore
например,
it
будешь исследовать,
together,
потом
or
решим
you explore
вместе.
it,
Ты расскажешь,
and
как
then
ты бы решил,
together we
я с
will
этим соглашусь,
decide
либо объясню,
how to
почему
do it,
нужен
or
другой
maybe
способ решения.
I will come up with an
Четвертый уровень.
alternative solution. Level 4.
Исследуй,
Please explore
проанализируй,
this issue,
предложи,
analyze
какой
it,
твой вариант самый
suggest an
лучший.
option,
Я с ним, с твоим
and I will
предложенным
either
вариантом, либо соглашусь, либо нет. Это как очень
agree
похож на третий уровень,
or
только в третьем
disagree with the
мы
proposed
говорим, что вы
solution.
все-таки будете
It's
выбирать
just like
вместе.
level 3,
На
but you
четвертом
will
уровне просто
choose
говорите, да, я
together
тебе
at
даю
level
окно,
3,
да, так
and
можешь сделать. Это,
your
грубо говоря,
employee will
такой
make
расширенный
their own
третий вариант.
decision at the
Третий
fourth
вариант, в
level.
котором вы не обсуждаете
You don't
варианты, вы
really
скорее их
discuss
аппрувите.
options, you
Вы говорите,
just
да, хорошо,
approve them
здорово.
or disapprove them.
Пятый.
Level
Исследуй,
5. You
проанализируй,
explore, you analyze,
предложи
suggest
и
an
реши
option, and
сам.
decide for yourself.
Проинформируй меня. То есть не
Just
жди
tell me
мой
first,
аппрув,
okay?
то есть можешь
You don't
начинать
need
действовать,
to
не
wait for
ожидая
my
моего
approval. You don't
согласия.
need
Пункт
to
четвертый, четвертый
secure
уровень.
my
Это ты
consent
действуешь после того, как я
before
скажу «да».
resolving the task.
Задача, да, твой
At
способ
level
решения,
4,
поехали, решай. То есть я все-таки оставляю возможность стартовать
the
и
employee
стартовать.
needs to
На
get your
пятом уровне
approval
ты
before
меня
resolving the task.
информируешь, но ты не ждешь
At level
подтверждения.
5,
Ты
you just
сам
notify me
анализируешь проблему,
that
ты
the
сам
solution
начинаешь ее
has been
решать.
found.
Мне просто проинформируй, как ты начал. Если
If
вдруг
something
что-нибудь
goes
мешаешь,
wrong,
но
I
ты
will
меня не
interfere.
ждешь, ты не ждешь моего
I
разрешения,
will
ты начинаешь
intervene,
действовать самостоятельно.
but
Чем
you
это
don't need to
четвертый уровень.
wait for my decision.
Шестой
Level
уровень.
6.
Сделай и
Do
скажи
it
мне.
and tell me.
Вот скажи мне по результатам
For
полугода, все
example,
ли
at the
получилось.
end of the second second quarter, tell me if something works well,
можно передавать следующий кусочек.
and I will entrust you with another section of responsibilities, like you will also be put in charge of finance. At level 7, do it yourself. This works well for business owners working with executives. or a team lead can use this level of delegation with team members. For instance, there are customer support tasks. So please keep our customers happy. This is the task. I don't want to get into details how you're going to make sure they're happy. Are you going to ask them if they're happy? Are you going to outsource something or hire new support engineers? This is all up to you. I don't want to go into detail because I don't understand anything about you. So this is a bit of a forced delegation because you don't know how to do it yourself. So in this case, your expectation is that you don't have any unhappy customers and you trust the person you delegate this task to very much. So dear colleagues, at this point I would like you all to think, to consider your level of trust to these employees, to your employees that you delegate tasks to. Are they aware of the level of your trust they enjoy? This is a frequent issue for beginner managers or beginner team leads. We don't always trust people enough. Let them do it. Show them what kind of decisions they can make. Give them an opportunity to prove themselves. And hopefully, it will be a pleasant surprise for you to see that people are capable of a lot more than you think they are. And luckily, I've been able to keep my speech within the time limit. So I was a bit afraid that an hour won't be enough, but it's more of a happy coincidence than my conscious effort. Where can you learn all of the above? I understand that now I only have enough time to give you the basics, to give you the most important takeaways, the key points. So how to learn to do all these? How to learn to apply all these methodologies and techniques? The Tetics Management School, you are very welcome to join us next February. We're opening an international school. It's a new format for us. We only worked for Russian language students, but now we're also offering tuition in English. We will be happy to see you, dear colleagues. And please remember that we have the early bird rate available until December 20. We've been teaching managers for the last 10 or maybe 12 years, and some of our graduates bring their own teams to us and ask us to teach their team leads everything we taught them at the time. So this is how we realize that what we teach is actually working, because we teach methodologies and techniques that actually show results. If you're a manager, if you're a team lead, if you want to be more mindful of your responsibilities, if you want to enjoy your daily processes, if you want to bring extra value to your business and to be happy every day at work, you can learn all of the above. We are a school of managers. We've been teaching for over 10 years, and for over 10 years we have been exploring all these issues together with our students. This was the Tetics School of Management. I was thrilled to see you at our marathon. See you in a week. If you're watching the recording, please make sure to watch all of the recordings available within the marathon. Thank you for being with us. We'll be happy to see you as our students. Good luck.